Islam, Morris.
Islam.
Mr. Rice. Five on the left, two on the right. Allah, Father of the universe.
Allah, Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night and by day. To our holy prophet. Nabi Ali. Islam. Ashe. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors, or to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their home, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans, it causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their carding button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Ali. Islam. To be proclaimed at every meeting. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people on our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me, so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and mobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my work, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Ali.
Islam.
To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is the instruction from your Prophet Noble Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I Noble Ali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see. Ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving. And they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah would bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Ali. Islam. Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body. The assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is to cause any confusion or the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali the Prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Islam. So 6 days is upon us. 10th annual Noble Jew Ali Day. As you can see on the chairs, there's flyers there, so feel free to take a stack of flyers and get that word out on what we have going on the 4th, which is going to be at Fleming Park Community Center in the gym. Any other announcements?
No, we'll just be having town hall relatively soon after that. We've got more likely Ottawa in February again, countering the misnomer of Black History Month. We'll also be doing our first inaugural winter solstice path walk, and that will be if anyone knows downtown, they have something called a path, which is a system of underground walkways that connect from Union Station up to, I would say Dundas, but even goes a little bit further. That way for all the Moors who don't want to be cold, but at least honoring the gates. So that'll be happening the third week in January. And then this year we're looking to sort of start trying to get some stuff, out on a municipal level from our perspective, trying to, sort of maybe start playing some pots and pans, so to speak. As Cujo said, this is our 10th year right now. I am encouraged by the work we're doing. I think we need to be. I think we should be able to do more. That's what it is, and I think that's going to take us doing some studying and getting together on that. One of the things the prophet said is to attend your meetings, and I think most of us are doing those things, but we now need to start doing some more stuff.
So, if anybody has any any input on past Noble Drew Ali days that we had, what you got out of them, what could probably be expected for people who this might be their first time attending.
Expect to see people you haven't seen before. Expect to see people you might have seen once. They just pass through the temple and now they're only going to be there on that day. So expect that. Yep, expect the unexpected.
Expect the unexpected. And again, once again, we have Brother Setnara Bay and Dave Bay doing their lecture. The Setnara's lecture is going to be the second part of the first one that we did. The first lecture that he did was a Skype lecture on the immigration, Moorish connection to immigration. So they did, they had a field trip. They had a field trip. Yeah, they had a field trip, so they have a lot of information that they wanted to share. We were going to do a Skype again, but we decided to save it for Drew Ali Day. And Brother Dave's going to be lecturing on man's connection to plants and minerals, health, a holistic health lecture.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, boy.
School
boy. School boy.
Part of again with Noble Drew Ali Day being its decade we've been doing it. If you go again, we have the pictures up of the past Noble Drew Ali days. You can see what the attendance was like and the acceleration of the attendance over the years. Last year was our biggest one. I think we had about 70 people last year. And again, you know, it's spreading out now. More from different territories that are coming here to them because, you know, we know that Toronto is a indigenous word that means the meeting place. So everybody's making their way to Canaanland to, you know, show their support. One of the most important things of us doing this is just getting Noble Drew Ali's name out there, getting his image out there, and getting this perspective that we have returned. The Moors are back by this time. You know, so today we're just gonna lead ourselves up to Noble Drew Ali Day by going through the Moorish literature booklet, reading some of those things and getting some people's perspectives of, you know, what they get from some of his lessons and teachings. And of course, the field's open for questions. Any questions, comments, feel free to put those out there. So 1930, this is after Noble Drew Ali. Edward Mealy L. was given the authority by Noble Drew Ali after he transitioned to keep things going, because there was a lot of, even when Noble Drew Ali was around, there was a lot of fighting for authority, even when he was around. So opposed to having the people select because of bias, he picked who he wanted to be in certain positions. So one of the individuals that he had given that authority to was Mealy L. And during the time of Noble Drew Ali, from what we get with the letters that Mealy L put out, as well as the activity that was happening during that time. The different factions in the Moorish movement that were trying to, like when Noble Drew Ali talks about jealous of his fame and nobility, those individuals were actually trying to take the temple, take everything away from Noble Drew Ali, to the point where if you heard about him going to all the different temples, visiting the temples, and then when he came back, he found all the furniture and all his stuff thrown outside of his own temple, right? That's how much they wanted him out of his own stuff that he found, right? Good.
Emmanuel, is that the Charles Edwards before you said that?
Is it, say that again?
Charles Edwards.
Yeah.
Same author becoming one.
Yeah, Charles, not Emily Hill isn't Charles Edwards. Charles Edwards is a different individual.
Also different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Charles Edwards.
Yeah, there's a Charles Edwards. Yeah, who's Emmanuel Light. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm trying.
Yeah. So with regard to Emmanuel Light, Prince Emmanuel, he was when you look at how the Rastafari movement has its separation. You have Bobo and 12 tribes and Ashanti, and everybody's saying Haile Selassie I love, but they're separated. Right? Same thing happened in the Moorish movement. You know what I mean? Everybody's saying Noble Drew Ali is the prophet, but those guys over there are saying that convention is in September. These guys over here saying convention's October. Those guys down there, they're not even involved in anything because of the separation. Right. So one of the things that we look at with regard to the Rastafari movement is the connection to certain things. For example, the Bobos having their turban, and turban being Moorish. You know, Rastafarians in general not shaving, cutting hair. Right. All those things are relative to the Nazarite vow, which again goes back to Yahshua giving honors to, you know what I mean, Jesus and the things that he stood for. Also, we're looking at Emmanuel taking it upon himself to make sure that he presented to the Rastafarians the Declaration of Human Rights, and him always talking about Article 15, which is the one about, you know, having a nationality. Now remember, that was 1920s, 1930s, around the same time that Noble Drew Ali was doing what he was doing, talking about nationality. The only difference with them is that they were saying their nationality is Black, African, or whatever like that, which we know that that's a fiction, right? And we know that Charles Edwards was on something if he corrected his name to Emmanuel, right? Which Emmanuel, and then L is a Moorish title of nobility, and there's certain things there. He might not have did it for that, but like we say, you know, the higher force works in mysterious ways to people. You know, it's no different than all these Moors that are born with certain names, and then when they go check, after they get into this, the name is Moorish. And you know your mom was a Christian and all that stuff, and it's like, well, how'd she know to name me Lavelle or Jordell or whatever?
How I know, I give my son L as his middle name.
Right.
I didn't know, but I give him his name.
So you gave it to him regardless. Right. And again, when you go through, there's a YouTube video or actually a blog talk interview that's on YouTube with Brother Hannibal Bay, Brother Taj Street Bay's son, talking about the whole infiltration of the Moorish movement. And that was part what inspired the book that I wrote, Noble Juali Plenipotentiaries, which basically goes into all these different individuals who either were studying with Noble Juali or came out of his school of thought or were speaking along the same angles that he was speaking that nobody talks about, and they don't bring them up. Because again, if you start bringing up Noble Juali, then everybody else becomes unimportant. And popularity is a theme in the conscious realm with regard to stuff being online and whatever like that, you know, and people don't even consider certain things with regard to the whole concept of popularity, because you might go online and see you know, a video and it has, you know, 50,000 views or whatever, right? And we were doing some research and we found that people could buy views.
What?
Right? Like you could buy subscribers, you can buy likes, you can buy these things, right? So if you're willing to put on a 50 notes or 100 notes, right? And they have it set up as, you know, packages, you know, 500 you can get for whatever, 1,000 you can get for whatever, 3,000 you can get for whatever. So don't take it like, oh wow, that has 50 million views. That must be, everybody must be watching that video, and probably not, right? So the whole idea with being popular became a theme, and people are using these different platforms in order to look like they're about liberating the people, when they're not even in the realm of liberating the people. This is just something that they're doing because they know that this is where this thing's going. You know what I mean? Like there was a time when you would go on a video and the video just starts up. Now everybody has an intro with the spiraling, whatever, and then their logo comes up, and then there's sometimes all this hoopla or whatever going on before you even get to the information. You know what I mean? Right? So during this Skype or this YouTube video that the book was based on, he was talking about individuals that came into the Moorish movement, learned under Noble Juali, got the information, and then went somewhere else with the information. Took the information and went somewhere else with it, right? Took the information and started, for example, saying, you know, we're gonna still talk about whatever subject matter, but we're not gonna do it in a fez.
Yeah, we have to.
We're gonna not gonna talk about, you know, Noble Juali, but we're gonna talk about our guy who we think is the prophet or whatever like that, right? So with regard to Emily L, he had put out some letters, and one of his letters was based in calling out one of these sects of the Moorish movement that broke off after Noble Juali transition, because there's also there's a couple articles, I think Chicago Defender was covering Noble Juali's funeral, and they were talking about how at his funeral there was any and everybody from Chicago was at the funeral, right? From people in so-called government, people with different organizations, people with different, you know, when we say organizations, we're saying our type of organizations, Moorish organizations, Black organizations, Hindu organizations, Masonic organizations, whoever, right? He had a shut the streets down funeral. Casket getting carried throughout the street and stuff like that is the type of funeral that he had. Because everybody knew at that time what was up, right? Now again, the infiltration of the Moorish movement happened because of people jealous of what Noble Drew Ali had and how he was siphoning off the power. So majority of the power he gave to the people. Told them in all his writings that this is your movement, I'm your prophet, don't even worry about what anybody else saying, you just imitate me, the prophet. You don't worry about anybody else. Let them do whatever they want. I'm laying down a path, you follow the path, everything will be all right. And then there was the individuals that got certain power. Emil got majority of that, right? And again, individuals didn't like the idea of Miliel having that power because it's said that they thought that he wasn't prepared.
How about that?
Right? He wasn't really in the realm. Dus Muhammad Ali, he was more connected to the Garvey movement, to the UNI movement. Yeah. Right? He was more connected to the Garvey movement. And again, you know, even going there,
When he was wearing a face.
he wore fez all the time. You know, and even that, it was a standard that you wear your national headwear, right? There was also the African Legion, which was the muftis or the African police or whatever for the UNI movement, that they wore fezzes. They had black fez, right? So Emil was calling out a lot of these people that were taking this position of try to throw Noble Drew Ali under the bus and make themselves be the actual authority because they didn't want to get behind Miliel. And not getting behind them, not getting behind him was due to them being part of the infiltration and them being part of the ones trying to undermine this so that it becomes this stagnated thing that people see and just, oh, the Moors, oh, so I read the newspapers and the Moors got shootouts with police and the Moors, and the Moors, same thing that's going on today. Oh, the Moors go to jail and all they do is get arrested and whatever, right? The same idea, the same, this is why we would say that certain people are agents today. Because their activity is no different than the agents of the past who we know were agents, just because of their actions. So if Noble Drew Ali, for example, if we use Kurtman Bey as an example, right? Miliel gave the authority, was given the authority, right? Other individuals who were in the movement were, for example, Noble Drew Ali transition, they went and sat in his seat and say, oh yeah, I'm the prophet now. Just because they're sitting in his seat. And then people going with it. Not that these people were anything before Noble Drew Ali transition, they were nothing. All of a sudden, Noble Drew Ali dies and this guy sits in the seat and he's the prophet and people are chasing after him. Or Kurtman Bey having a fez with Sultan written on it. When Noble Drew Ali told the Moors, don't mark your fez. But then people chasing after that still today, they still have his picture up next to Noble Drew Ali's picture and they're making it seem like, oh yeah, he got some authority from Noble Drew Ali or whatever, right? So this is February 26, 1930. Emil, and this is before Emil was Supreme Grand Chief. When he was chairman. Islam, Brother C. Kurtman Bey, this is to notify you that the above named organization, Moorish Science Temple of America, in convention September 15th to 20th, rescinded by voting out the mistake made by the second annual convention of 1929. And in doing so, you hold your membership role as when our prophet was here. And we hope you will still cooperate with the organization under the 5 principles. We hope further that you will comply with this notice and govern yourself accordingly, as there is but one Supreme Grand Advisor in the Moorish Science Temple of America, that being Noble Drew Ali, and anyone else attempting to be, from now on, is assuming authority of himself and is liable to the penalties of the law. Peace. Moorish Science Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali, founder, E. Neely L., chairman. So one of the things that Kirkman Bay did was make this Supreme Grand Advisor be an actual position that had some type of authority in the Moorish movement, right? Like Neely L. said, there's only but one Supreme Grand Advisor, that's Noble Drew Ali. There's nobody else that could take that position or hold that position, even if the prophet's not here. It's no different than if we're looking at the prophet position. Nobody can come and say that they're the prophet, even though Noble Drew Ali is not here. Nobody can hold that seat, right? And again, this is 1930. So Drew Ali transition 29. September 1930, there was still stuff going on with regard to this battling for the power.
2 years later.
Right?
A year later.
Year later, they're still battling for his power. Now to take that position would mean that Noble Drew Ali was probably up to something pretty serious. If a year later people were fighting for his authority still, right?
And to top up that too, to tell how serious it was, he even tell us, a lot of my people, it's gonna take 100 years for them to know that I was around.
Yep.
And for me personally, it was after 100 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was for real.
So that was prophecy
That
manifested.
was he saying that and it's for real.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
100 years, for my people know that I exist.
Mhm.
I heard of all the rest. I made it of it.
Yeah. Right. And again too, like when that was part of the inspiration with us wanting to do this, because we rep for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When you know in the 90s when we came into this information because of a brother that had a studio, Crazy Mental Studios. You might have seen around Scarborough there was a brother who was running for office by the name of George Singh.
Mm-hmm.
He was the man that was running the studio back in the day. And in the studio, he had a library. And he used to always be honest, so why are you guys talking about all this stuff where you got books right there, you can write about stuff all day.
Mm-hmm.
Like why are you not speaking anything conscious? Why you just talking to be talking? You know what I mean? So through him, we started, we go to the studio, in hindsight, it was probably the thing that got us to this stage. Him taking that initiative, because every other studio you go at, they don't got library here. It's not happening. You're not going there for library. Like that's just not what it is. You know what I mean? And he had a full library, three shelves. You know what I mean? Every, so-called scholar of the black whatever had a book in that library. And only through going there and, just out of you could say being forced to, that we picked up some of those books or whatever. You know what I mean? But still nothing stuck. We were just doing it because it was him, it was his studio. If we're there, we might as well pick up a book and read it or whatever. It wasn't like we were on it like that.
So you did have some knowledge of both
Back then, I don't know. With all the books that he had there, I'm pretty sure there was a mention You know what I mean? Just like all the books that we got right now, you check the index, somebody got something about the Moors
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Noble Juali or whatever in their book.
Like in the TV with some old cartoon.
Right. Right. You know what I mean? There's something. There's always something in there, right? Yeah. Whether it's, you know, metaphysics or, you know what I mean, African culture or whatever, there's always some type of connection to our information. So being forced to, we listened to some stuff, we read some things, but from the time of, say, about 95, 96 until probably 2004, 2005, us saying Moors or that school of thought wasn't in the forefront. It was just, you know, stuff you hear in passing. You know, you hear more. Nobody didn't hear anything ever. Right? Going back to the thing that you're saying about, you know, the time passing, that, you know, Noble Juali said, it's gonna be 100 years before you find out who I am or whatever. You know what I mean? So when we were going through our finding ourselves and we bumped into this information about him, and just like you're saying, we've been through all these different schools of thoughts, we've read all these books, we've studied from all these different people, and there's no mention of him. How come there's no mention of this individual? Like, what is it about him that there's no mention of him? You know what I mean? And then we go to Chicago, and then the Moorish stressing that same point. That, you know, when we went through the attic chamber and they said, well, yo, you guys know about everybody. You guys have gone through every single school of thought, except this one. Right? Known about all the different scholars, except this individual. You know? And that was pretty much it. You know, that was the final piece to the puzzle. You know, that, you know, you're looking at the puzzle, you have all the pieces, but nothing's put together. And then Noble Juali was putting that last piece in the puzzle so you can see this picture as to what it is that this was really about. It was really about us learning about our nationality. You know, all these different people's talking about nations and you know, colorable whatever and black whatever and all this. But that missing piece is why it is that we're still doing what it is that we're doing, because to date he still hasn't been given his due, first of all, and his teachings have still not been taken into the highest consideration. People are still absent-minded when it comes to Noble Juali. Right? They might be cognizant of Moors, our people being Moors or Moorish history or Moorish culture, but still, when it comes to Noble Juali, he's not somebody that people openly talk about like that. And if they do talk about him, they're always bringing in their little colorable whatever to try to not tell really what it is that he was about, right? Which again is why, you know, we'll go through some of his writings that they had in the articles in his newspaper to have a perspective of the lessons that he was teaching to everybody. He wasn't limiting his teachings to this building, because the building had a newspaper that went all across the country, and that's what the Moorish Guide articles are. All the Moorish Guide articles are things that were in the newspaper that were going all across the world, right? No different than Nus Muhammad Ali, that he came to this side and people are looking at him like, he came to this side and people are looking at him on a level of, you know, a black historian, whatever like that. But reality was that he was actually, you know, he was a very important part in quote unquote European circles, because he used to write plays And Europeans, they go to plays. And the plays that he was writing was relative to ancient Egyptian culture, ancient African culture, and making sure that the people, whether they're European, Asiatic, or whatever, that they don't forget. They make sure that they don't forget that what was happening back then is not lost, right? March 11th, 1929, from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Brother Crumbie Bay, the governor and chief head of the temple in Pittsburgh, Brother Charles Bay, governor and chief head of the temple in Cleveland, Ohio. These two brothers are empowered by the Prophet to investigate business, etc., of temple number 4 in Detroit, Michigan, because Lomax Bay has violated all divine laws of the Prophet even before the Prophet's face, February 15th, 1929. He claims that the Prophet has no more power and that the finance from Detroit would be in his charge. He wouldn't send any to the Prophet. He yelled with a loud voice, "Look at me. I will guide you through. This is lawful and living evidence spoken before 1,500 people, and the Prophet was also present. I, the Prophet, declare his office vacant and the name of Grand Governor discharged. He can only be a member according to law because the Moorish Science Temple of America is a divine organization. Each temple is under supreme guidance of the Prophet. When man fails after being placed head of the temple by the Prophet of obeying our divine laws and constitutions, he is a traitor, an enemy of the divine creed, and unloyal to the national government USA, to which the movement is to make men and women better citizens." From the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Right? So again, individual Lomax Bay, who again, after Noble Drew Ali transitioned, took the information that was given to him by the Prophet and went and started some Islamic whatever and was doing his own thing. Changed his name from Lomax Bay to a different name, and now he's saying that he's somebody else now. Right? And they're taking it from this position of trying to take the authority by teaching the same things that you're teaching, but changing the sign outside. No different than Nation of Islam did. They had Moorish Science Temple, take the sign down, put up a new sign, Nation of Islam, and then now they're saying that they're that. They tell all the people, hey, we're gonna stop wearing your fezzes and all that stuff. You can't wear fezzes anymore. And people left the fezzes, but when you check the background, you realize that all these individuals kept having their national status, right? They were still in the back doing the things relative to knowing the truth about who it is that they were, right? While they're not telling everybody else the truth about who it is that they were, right? Now, Noble Drew Ali also had a statement that Detroit and Chicago are doomed for what it is they did to the Prophet. This is part of what Detroit did. To this day, you look at what's going on in Detroit right now, it's not because of some Europeans contaminating the water and all that stuff. Because these people violated Noble Drew Ali back then. And they still haven't gotten out of that yet. So what is it that these people are going to be going through with them violating what Noble Drew Ali did? If a so-called city can't survive because they violated the Prophet, then what's going to happen to all these individuals who violated him, right? Thinking that this is a joke and it's not real. And again, nobody said that, Detroit is going to be doomed before the Prophet. He's the one that said that. In the 1920s, he said that. Detroit's going to be doomed for what they did. And again, Detroit is where Nation of Islam started. Detroit is where Lomax Bey was doing madness. Remember, all these people were with Noble Drew Ali. They could have kept to the program, and certain places would be prosperous right now. But they're not because of their violating, because they thought that, you know, the Prophet is just doing this on his own, whatever. When he told the Moors, Allah guides this. You guys looking at me like this is about me. This is not about me. This is about the Most High taking a stand through me. No different than Yahshua told him. You looking at me like men are gonna come do greater stuff than I did. No different than Muhammad told him. No different than Buddha told him. No different than all the prophets came and told these people. While you're sitting there looking at the prophet, you're oohing and eyeing at the prophet or whatever like that, and not taking you're taking this for yourself seriously, you keep falling behind. Because prophet already got it. You don't need classes, lessons. Same thing Dr. Malachi York told him. Look what happened to the land after they got rid of him. They took that stuff back. How did they do that? Why did they do that? They did that because the people didn't have it up here yet. They were still looking at this individual as the one who's going to be the one to whatever. Right? Now, certain language that you might hear as well. People are talking about you're talking about discharge debts. You're talking about discharge debts, right? The prophet declared his office vacant and the name of Grand Governor discharged. Right? While people are trying to discharge debts, Noble Drew Ali was discharging people's position in his movement, right? Yeah, might as well go check. I don't know what they're up to right now because it's Sunday.
He's parked in front of the.
Oh, the sign.
The sign, so he should be back here.
Yeah, but his car was up there, so he probably stopped.
You know what I'm saying? But as long as you're within the spot, it means it's free. If you're outside of the front spot, then see where it's pulled back, that's fair. All right, let's move.
When man fails after being placed head of the temple by the prophet of obeying your divine laws and constitution, he is a traitor and an enemy of the divine creed. Right? So, what Noble Drew Ali laid down should be adhered to, or should be followed, or should be practiced by the individuals who are absorbing this information. Because to not study it, to know it, means that you're a traitor to this. This is why we stress the point of making sure that people are studying. Making sure that you're taking what Noble Drew Ali laid down to you as right and exact. Because Moors will tell you who've been in this, that moment that you say, nah, I'm not going to study nothing, I'm going to go over here and do whatever, some BS is about to happen to you. Guaranteed. Just because this is about energy. This is about a certain vibration. But the vibration is what you have to be resonating on. The vibration isn't by itself. The vibration only comes with the individual who has the knowledge to use it in the way that it's supposed to be used.
I already got one.
You were past the sign then?
Not looking to the side. Every policy Sunday. I don't see the sign.
What do you say?
You kick it, I'll say what you're about. No, I don't know no sign. You want to get them not going to sign. You said nothing. And I said free. And so it's free money does not come. Or my son gives a ticket.
On Friday, August 14th, 1929. Dear Brother Payne L., in reading your letter to Brother Thompson L. a few minutes ago, and in view of wishes of our Prophet as laid down in his laws to me by myself, I wish to call to your attention the fact that it was his will that we hold the coming convention of 1929 beginning September 15th to the 20th of the same month. My objection is only that the date which was made by the Prophet be considered as law with me, and remembering also that he said, as long as you do what I tell you, you will be all right. But when you fail to obey my orders, you will have trouble. Having talked the matter over with all the governors, I find them in favor of supporting the date of the convention as laid down by our Prophet. Now, as business manager, I am asking you to give away to the time of the Prophet's choice and arrange your dates accordingly, which begins September 15th to September 20th inclusive. This will also give them more time for preparation for the same. We must do all we can for peace, that a progressive advance may manifest itself in all of our actions. This done, all also is well. Trusting this meets your approval, I am your brother in Islam, Emili Il, Supreme Grand Sheikh. Right, so again, people taking the position of wanting to do whatever it is that they want to do, and not adhering to what it is that Noble Ali laid down. You're going to have issues, because this is not a Noble Ali thing. This is a Allah thing. Allah is who has the power within this. The reason why we're in this building right here now is because of Allah, not because of the Moors did something. Like, Allah got us this building. Building that was when we were across the street, Allah got us that building. The building when we were up there, Allah got us that building. Right? The reason why we're still here doing whatever we're doing is strictly because of us adhering to the principles. Majorities Moors, they got their Quran on them. Majorities Moors, they get up, they say their prayer, they go to bed, they say their prayer. Read their Quran through the day. You know, children know their Quran. Children know their 101 questionnaire. Children, you know what I mean, know their prayer. All these things are relative to this having some type of power or force, right? It can't be all just the people. There has to be some type of divine intervention with regard to this, especially if he made it known that this is divine and national. And being that divine came first, divine should have some type of consideration before any type of national things. Even though the national things have power that could save nations, the divine things is what make the national things work in its fullness, right? It's like the statement that Brother Tajri Bey talks about clip sovereignty. That there's the example that he uses when if you get a bird and you clip the wings of the bird so it's not gonna die, but it's not gonna be able to fly the way it's supposed to fly, just in case you leave the window open or whatever like that, so the bird can't wear it. Sovereignty is the same way. We're supposed to have hawk, eagle, whatever sovereignty, not bird out here that's walking on the street sovereignty. We're not supposed to have pigeon sovereignty. We're supposed to have like the real birds with the big feathers that when you find one of those feathers, it's a good omen and all that. That's the sovereignty that we're supposed to have as Mormons, right? Another letter by Emili Il. To the heads of all the temples, Islam, These are critical moments, and all Muslims are required to follow instructions. During the life of our Prophet, he told us many things, but there was many things that he said he couldn't tell, but we would know after a while. Since he passed, he left his son who will guide you. Now, of course, the Prophet's laws are all right, but there are plenty he couldn't write or put in book form. So someone had to tell you. Now, some are going to believe it and some are not. But now, let me say that you are a brother, that you as a brother, we love Israel. Please don't be hard-headed. In the adab last night, we were told not to eat meat, but eat anything in the fish line with scales. That leaves out cat and eel. Eat fish and vegetables, etc., but no meat of any kind or any strong drinks until further notice. Please don't do any of these things until you hear from the Grand Body. Your brother in Islam, Mili El, Supreme Grand Chief. To all governors, grand sheikhs, and head officials of the temple. During this convention period, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said on the 17th of October that he was going to appoint 7 men tried and true and accepted by you. And on the very next day, Noble Drew Ali stepped forward from the chamber room and declared that he now had his number, and said the Grand Body had accepted his choice in the setting of the Supreme Grand Council of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And Prophet Noble Drew Ali also declared what their duties in conjunction with that of the Grand Body, which consists of all executive rulers, chief rulers, and governors. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that both are to work hand in hand with each other, and those who act in the Supreme Council duties were to continue on with each other, and those who act in the Supreme Council duties were to continue on with the day-to-day functions of this divine movement, while the Grand Body was to intercede that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was the law and at the head of this divine movement. Now the Prophet Noble Drew Ali announces that the following Arab Chamber members would be seated on the Supreme Grand Council. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Supreme Head and Supreme Chairman. Edward Mealy El, Supreme Grand Sheikh and Grand Governor, Temple Number 1. Brother James Lomax Bey, Supreme Grand Governor and Grand Governor of Temple Number 4. Richard Ross Bey of Temple Number 1. Claude Green Bey, Supreme Business Manager, Temple Number 1. Brother Blackwell Bey, Temple Number 1. Sister Pearl Ali, Supreme Grand Secretary, Temple Number 1. Then the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, "Follow me and you will be happy." The Prophet also announced that a per capita tax had been voted in by the Grand Body and concurred with the Supreme Grand Council during the second sitting of the Supreme Grand Council. So again, when we look at what Noble Drew Ali was doing, he was setting up for us to be government. When you hear Supreme Business Manager, Supreme Grand Governor, Supreme Chairman, Supreme Head, Grand Secretary, all those are positions in quote-unquote the government that was being established by Noble Drew Ali for us, that everybody else was supposed to, like you said, work hand in hand with each other no matter what your position is. But people got caught up in their titles, which is again why in his teachings he taught us that Allah does not respect person or station. So don't get caught up because you have a title that you're somebody. The real somebody are the people. The real somebody is the nation. And still to this day, there's people vying for, they want to be in this, they want to be in that, they want to be the head of something. They're not humble enough to take their role in the movement, so they're going to go create something else so they can be the head of that. Right? Any questions or comments? Right, so everything was governmental training. That's why we have a divine constitution. That's why more supposed to, have their fezzes and turbans, because that's your national headwear. That's not some religious whatever. That's your national representation. So no matter where you go and they see you, they see the turban or fez, they already know what's up. It's not going to be a question. There's not going to be guessing. Well, is he or what is he or what? There's going to be no doubt whatsoever as to what it is that individual wearing that headwear is about. All right? Why we have, you notice that the Moorish movement has governors, sheiks, secretaries, whatever. They got those stuff in so-called corporate government. They got secretaries, they got governors. How come nobody's relating us to be in our own government, but those things have that and they call them government when they're not even government. They're corporations and people acknowledge them as government. And then we have those same titles of governor or whatever, and they're not looking at us as government. We're some religious organization. Right? Right? Head officials. There's a head official. Official is a governmental seat. Why is he naming these seats, these quote unquote governmental titles? Because we're supposed to be governing ourselves. This is what the whole point was of us having manufacturing companies and all that stuff in Novi all this time. So we could handle our own affairs.
Before they came, it wasn't that way, it was before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before 1776 when the United States.
We were the government.
There you go. So for people know that 1776 is when the United States started the United States of America Corporation, the Illuminati,
Yeah.
which is running it to the state. You should at least think about what was it before then? What was it before they came out?
Yeah. What was the damn movie again? Birth of a Nation. It's about 4-hour silent movie. 4-hour silent movie about it's supposed to be about how the Ku Klux Klan started up, but really it's about when we used to run government. So there's a scene in there. There's 2 scenes that stand out. There's one scene when they're having Congress or something like that. And of course, all the Asiatics that see it, that are looking at it, look at the movie as, oh, this is racist and how could they do this or whatever like that. Because they have one scene where they're having some congressional meeting or whatever, and there's all these Europeans in blackface, and all of them are eating watermelon or whatever like that, and you know what I mean? They're making it like, they're in blackface. That's what our people get caught up in. Our people now caught up in the fact that they're showing you that we ran everything. They're showing you that Congress was ours. They're showing you that the government was ours. We're getting caught up in blackface and watermelon, not realizing that they're showing you that you ran everything. And if we ran everything, obviously we weren't slaves over here. Right?
Like they would say there was Pharaohs in the White House before President Trump.
Right, yeah. Right. And then the second scene that stood out was there was some fight or whatever, and they're chasing this one individual. This is supposed to be a part of when the KKK, when they founded the KKK or whatever. So they chased this one guy, and then they got him on the ground, right? They got him on the ground, and the clans are on him or whatever, and you know what they're doing. Remember, it's a silent movie, so everything, there's no audio. You just have to, based on the visuals, assume what's going down or whatever. So they got this dude on the ground fighting him or whatever like that, and then they go in their shirt and they pull out a fez. And they hold the fez or whatever like that, and then they take him off and they go kill him or whatever like that. Right? Again, letting you know that you were the ones running stuff around here. And Noble Ali was putting that back into our mind that we were the ones that are running stuff by telling us that we're governors and sheiks and all this stuff, and that we can handle our own affairs. We don't need these Europeans to handle our affairs for us. You know, going back to, again, Abraham Lincoln with the William Dungy case, right? And Abraham Lincoln defending his client, and his client was a brother. And he's telling the court, well, you know, my client's not a Negro. He might have black skin, but he's not a Negro. And he's not a Moor like M-O-O-R-E, but he's a Moor like M-O-O-R. And won the case. And got 300 or 600 notes or whatever like that. And he didn't have to pay court costs and all that.
The judge even asked Lincoln, like, is it more M-O-O-R or M-O-O-R-E like the prosecutor?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, M-O-O-R.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah. Right. Specifically. M-O-O-R. Not more like that European over there that's prosecutor that has E on it.
Yeah.
And won the case. Now again, that's case law. That's precedent. That any more could use the William Dungy case to show that these people know who the Moors are, and that you can't bring up charges against Moors. You might be able to do that with Negroes, but you can't do that with Moors. And again, not enough people standing up for that is why it would appear that those things don't work. But there's Moors in here who they've been to court and they got their stuff dismissed. Right? To all governors and sheiks and head officials of temples, by order of Prophet Noble Jew Ali, has said the following thing during our very first convention. Prophet Noble Jew Ali said that the Moorish Science Temple of America was organized to play a useful and defining part in the advancement of the sacred obligation of American citizenship. As the Moorish Divine National Movement was founded for the uniting of the Asiatic states of North America on May 1st, 1916. As this will have been our very first convention and most interesting one ever held in this city. Right? Again, Prophet Noble Jew Ali said that the Moorish Science Temple of America was organized to play a useful and defining part in the advancement of the sacred obligation of American citizenship. Right? Not people are going to tell you nationality card said U.S.A. I'm a citizen of U.S.A. on it, so that means that we're citizens of the United States. No, we're not citizens of no United States. Because again, if he's pushing American citizenship, and Americans are the Aboriginal people who were here before European came here, then he's not talking about some citizenship to some corporation. Even though he's using the term citizenship, which could be conceived as corporate. If he's talking about American citizenship, he's talking about our own. If he's talking about the Moorish Divine and National Movement was founded for the uniting of the Asiatic states of North America. What Asia? Tell me an Asiatic state of North America today in 2020. One Asiatic state. Every one of them. Every state is an Asiatic state. Because remember, all those states that they got right now are corporations. So what was going on during Noble Drew Ali's time? If all those things are corporations now, then what were those states at that time? And why is it that in the literature it talks about the Moors seeing that a Moor went to a store and he saw, no, a Moor was at the temple and he saw 5 Chinese, 3 Japanese, 2 Turks, and whatever join the Moorish Science Temple. Why are they joining? Because they're Asiatics, right? And they realize that he's able to confer citizenship. You don't have to go to Ellis Island to go be a citizen. You don't have to go to immigration, whatever, to be a citizen. All that is corporate activity. And he was talking about this back then and using the Moorish Science Temple as the place where people could come in here and get their citizenship. Because why? This is the uniting of Asia. This is the bringing everybody back into the human family because everybody was starting to branch off into being corporate. This is bringing everybody back to growing from the correct tree, connecting themselves to their roots that were all part of the Asiatic nations of the world. And once the Asiatics realize it, then everybody else is going to realize it. But if the Asiatics are not going to take their own birthright serious, then why would anybody else take more serious? Why would they even consider Moors? It's no different than the people who you have today who are just more hating just because they don't understand what this is about. And they have every reason why they're not Moors. But you tell them about, Africa and all this stuff, they're that. And they're Indians and they're all this other stuff. But it comes to Moors, though, they're not that. They don't want anything to do with this. Quick, fast. You put a check in front of them and they'll claim that they're anything. They'll claim that they're a bucket. They'll put on any type of headwear, dress, whatever, just because they can.
Yeah.
You tell them Moors, oh no, they don't want to do that. They don't want nothing to do with this. Right? And again, we don't have any obligations to anybody. Because really this is about the people accepting their birthright. If they want to take it, they take it. If they don't want to take it, then that's on them. They can't say that they weren't told, here's their birthright. Especially from the jurisdiction of the Moorish Science Temple. Because again, if Noble Drew Ali in the 1920s is talking about Asiatic states of North America, and today all you have is corporate states, they got rid of a lot more than we think that they got rid of. And how come nobody else who looks like us is talking about these Asiatic states?
It's not a long time ago.
That was only 100 years ago.
Yeah, it's not long.
Right? If there were Asiatic states here, if we're looking at it right now, we're seeing United States, and we're seeing corporate states, and we're seeing all these other, we're seeing states of consciousness, and we're seeing states of whatever. And there were Asiatic states, and then there was this individual that was the head of them, and they had a convention, and all these people from all over the world are going. And then you have Pan American Conference, 1928, and he went to that, representing the Asiatic states. Well, then 2020, you're doing your research on six Pan American Conference, and you can't find no information. And you give a Pan American Conference 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can find all the information about. 6, nothing. 7, 8, 9, whatever, you'll find all the information about. Nothing about 6 1. And nobody's not putting it together. Hey, maybe it's because Noble Drew Ali was there and what went down at that convention. Maybe that's why. It's highly likely that if you can get information on all the others except that one that he was at, that there was probably something up with what he was presenting to the people. And again, that was another one of those things that made us realize that, okay, this must be something, right? Because I went to the reference library to go and research. There was the same one in downtown at Young Street, and they could give me microfilm on every Pan American conference except 6.
And what did they say the reason 6 wasn't there?
They just don't got anything on it. They just don't have anything.
And that's the one known as right away.
Yeah. 6th Pan American Conference in Havana, Cuba. Right? And again, we have the picture of him. We have the picture of him holding the flags, wearing the Panama hat, right? To show that he was there, because you're not wearing a Panama hat unless you go to Cuba. You don't just wear those around here. That's limited to over there. It was featured by delegates from 15 different states, from local branch temples and subordinate temples, which had been established for the uplifting of fallen humanity. During the first convention, in sessions specific for general work and civil accomplishments, were reported by the grand chiefs of each branch temple and subordinate temple, as each grand chief was required to give a reporting of his temple and the governor, and in the continued growth and development of this divine movement. As each grand chief gave their report about the growth of business and enterprises, of the example of collective efforts, show that the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America and their leaders have enacted a sound economic program and are blazing the trail and marking the pathway over which our posterity can travel unhampered and unafraid. Now, remember, this is the first convention. Now, again, think about this, right? It was featured by delegates from 15 different states, right? So 15 states, right? Every state, they have a branch temple and subordinate temples, right? All those subordinate temples and branch temples are working together with each other, right? Now there's a convention where the grand chiefs of all these different temples in the 15 states have to give a report to everybody in attendance. Think about what this looks like. That we have some convention center, let's say convention center downtown, right? And we have convention there, and Moors flying in from all over, driving in, whatever, right? Get there, and they're going up to give their report. Islam, grand chief, temple number, whatever, in wherever, run down their stuff, running down all the businesses that they're doing, running down the enterprise that they've been doing, all the work that they've been doing, the finance they collected or whatever like that, Islam, and then he goes, the next guy comes up, 15 states. What was, you think this is just some Moorish Science Temple religious organization or whatever? This is way bigger than some organizational, religious, whatever, like people look at it as, and people present it as. Because again, this is the convention minutes that Grand Major Temple in Chicago, Illinois, you call them up, they got the convention minutes of the first convention where all this stuff was going down and all the different delegates who were there. Right? Right?
From Canaanland here, Canada. You have people from here to the
Say that again?
from here.
Mm.
Canada. You have people from here.
No, this is the 1929. This is from that. Right? Now, to back up again, part of the reason why we were able to get a charter was because the Moors who were Grand Major Temple in 2007, 2008 came out of the original body of Grand Major Temple, who they found out were doing corrupt stuff in there, right? So they started doing their own Grand Major Temple. Now, when you look at the level of activity that was happening in 2007, 2008, these individuals who were in Grand Major Temple, they were moving on the authority of the prophet and the lessons, not the position and the station. So as they started being more active, they became more standoffish by the people who were the actual authority. Because the actual authority people weren't being active, they were passive. They were playing like this was church. Whereas you have individuals who got this information, studied the information on their own, applied it. The stuff works. Now they're going back and paying these people. So what are you guys doing with this? Like, how come you guys not doing nothing with this? How come if, for example, Amor had court, and then they go to the Supreme Grand Sheik or the Grand Sheik of their temple or whatever like that, they're not getting support from them with regard to whatever it is that they're doing. And they're not getting support because, well, this is a religious thing and, you know, read your Quran and all that type of stuff as far as get out of your situations, not deal with the situations. So there was a couple instances where those Moors had court, right? The Moors who came out of Grand Major Temple and started doing what they knew, not what they were told. And there was times where they went to court and courts closed because they're going there. Outside is just people outside. You go to the door, door's locked. But everybody has a paper that there's court today. But Moors also have a paper that there's court today. Court's closed. Next day, you go to court, everybody's stuff. Nobody has any stuff in the court. Stuff dismissed. Everything from Monday, wiped off the books. Really? Just because of these people's activity, right? We're talking about the whole concept of right to travel. And those Moors there having it locked down to the point where wherever it is that they go, they traveled in their numbers, 3, 5, 7, 9, whatever like that. But everybody's in a conveyance that has their own tags on it, right? And they're moving as a fleet wherever they go. We're going to corner store to go get some food. Okay, 5 Moors are going. All right, that means we got to take two cars. They're not packing everybody up in one car. We're going to go as a fleet. If this one guy goes through green and then it changes yellow and there's 5 more cars, everybody's going through the red. No issues. No honking, no why are you doing that, no highwayman or nothing like that. Because they were exercising like they were the Asiatic states. This was not some religious corporation. This was not a religious organization. This was not Hearns revised statute and all that stuff. This was constitutional enforcement. And if this is Chicago, if this is Mecca, and then we know that this is Mecca, and we know that there's certain obligations that you people have, constitutional folder of government, we're going to challenge you on those things. Right? We talked about the Moors near Virginia, where when they went to the sheriff's office and they challenged the sheriff on his constitutional oath. Went to the sheriff's office. Hey, we're Moors. Are you here to enforce the Constitution, or are you going to be on the statutes and all this stuff? Sheriff told him, well, yo, we have an oath. We have an oath to the Constitution, whatever. Okay. So that means you're gonna stand up for the law. You're not gonna stand up for these statutes or whatever, because they were going on, you know, time to exercise right to travel. You want licenses. You want to exercise. Doesn't matter if we have their plates, whichever plates, know that we're Moors. So we don't have certain obligations to the city. All we deal with is constitutional law. Sheriff went in the back, came out with a box. Put on the box, went in the box and gave everybody a challenge token. And then you could go online, you could look up challenge token. Now, challenge token is it's about so big, it's almost like a hockey puck with the sheriff's name on it, the sheriff's star on it, and then that's what you show if the city people stop you. Forget nationality card. Forget we got stopped by the highwayman and then we show a nationality card. They get stopped by highwayman, they show a sheriff token. Because that's the law, man. So show that. Oh, sorry about that. You know, you're under the jurisdiction of the sheriff. You don't have jurisdiction. Sorry. You go about their business. Moorish Science Temple wasn't doing that. The amount of heat those Moors got being in Moorish Science Temple of America, from Moorish Science Temple of America, for just doing that, going to the sheriff's office. You're not supposed to do that. Grand Sheik's supposed to be, you know, all that stuff. Well, Grand Sheik what? Grand Sheik singing hymns. No, waiting for you. This is what Noble Jawali had laid down for us to be where it is that we are. Same thing with Omar always talk about. When are we gonna start doing the university stuff? When are we gonna stop doing kindergarten and stop doing university?
2020.
Right?
2020.
Because this is bigger than just some religious whatever, or we got a card, so now that we're Moors, or we got some papers, or we got a Quran, so now we're protected by Allah or whatever. This is so vast, this is so huge that they had convention and they had 15 different states had delegates come to this convention to speak about. Actually, if you want to look in that law dictionary right there, just look up enterprise and see what that encompasses while I read the rest of this. You have your thing on either? Oh, you got your law dictionary? Oh, I know Fat Boy's eating.
That was a test there, right? That was a test. Where's the book, bro?
Too much load today, too much load. Just look up enterprise in there.
Yeah, but I think that part of the reason, and this is not to excuse them in any way, shape, or form, but our people, when they think of the word prophet, they think of something religious. They think of Jesus, they think of Muhammad.
Mm-hmm.
But a prophet is just someone who knows what's going to happen down the road.
Yeah.
And Prophet Noble Ali knew what was going to happen down the road, because we see it happening right now. All the divisiveness, all the dirty wars, all that stuff. And prophets always choose their successors as well, because they want to make sure that their lineage continues, so that today we know what he was talking about way back then.
Right.
Because he knew that all these people were going to come up and muddy the waters and corrupt and try to get some kind of fame and all that jazz. Right?
Yeah.
It's
That goes back to the Yahshua.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was in the temple. He wasn't in no church.
Yeah.
He was in the temple.
But
They got in there, whatever.
exactly. But when you think about
Not a
it,
church.
they think it's a church thing.
Yeah.
It's not a church thing.
Yeah.
So.
Right. So going back to your thing, so when after 2008, maybe a year, pretty much 2008, after we went there, we got our charter and all that stuff. Maybe about 9 months after that, they infiltrated those Moors, and then their stuff got shut down, because they had somebody in their temple telling people that you can put your tags on cars that you're paying on, cars that you're leasing or whatever. And about 50 people got their properties stolen by highwaymen or whatever, right? Because of Moors who were the infiltrators that told these people, oh yeah, you're right, travel, don't worry, just put this on your car that you're paying for. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be owned by you or nothing like that. This is our land and all that stuff. And then all these people got their property taken. And all those people said, forget this, and then they left the temple.
Yeah, well, the prophet told them to study.
Yeah, right?
You wanted to hear something and
Yeah,
just go
you
ahead.
want to hear something and
that's
just do it, then it is what it is. So 2010 was when, now remember, this is 2 years now, because we got our charter in 2008. So this is 2 years that stuff's been going on that we ain't hear from anybody. As soon as these Moors get disbanded, now Grand Major Temple, 2010, this is when we're going through the stuff with the sister who got her children taken, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now they want to call us now. Well, yeah, we hear you guys got a charter, and you know, how about you get down with us and all this stuff? Now remember, we already know that these people are the sellout, right? So I was telling them, well, hey, if you want me to come to convention, you fly me out. Because according to these Moors who brought me in, they said that I'm higher than the Queen. Queen doesn't have no jurisdiction over us. So if Queen doesn't have jurisdiction, what you think we're just running to you guys because you're called Grand Major Temple? If you want me at convention, fly me out. And any other delegates or whatever, who it is in their temple. And they weren't having that because they were playing power game. They were playing own Canaanland, own Grand Sheik Kudro, put him under our whatever so that we can have authority over all their members. Because again, if we take financing, we got to send the finance to them.
Or some portion of it.
Or some type of, right?
Offering.
And we were like, it's not going down like that. We're not going through all these trials and tribulations out here just to send you guys the finance. So we're sitting out here with nothing while you guys are balling off of us. Because remember, we're in the news and all that. So they looked at it like, oh, these Moors must be, these Moors are big time. They're on the news. Oh, we need to get with these Moors. But remember, that case was all in California and all that stuff. People thought there was some limited to here stuff. But there was Moors in Seattle, Moors in California. There was Moors also out of the States calling, like, hey man, we saw that thing on the news with you Moors, good work out there, Canaanland Moors and all that. We didn't even know that it was all the way out there like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they saw something. The ones that brought us in, they saw something. Because that was the first thing that they pulled out when we came to them. We were just going just to find out about some information about Noble Juali. First thing they pulled out, article with Noble Juali going to Toronto. Hey man, you know this is prophecy. You know this is prophecy right now? Like, you know what this is? We don't know what they're talking about. We don't know what Noble Juali is. And we don't know what's going on. All we know, these Moors were excited. So Moors from Toronto want to know about Noble Juali or whatever. Right? But Moor had to go hunt the article down, like looking, like hunting for the article. Like, yo, this is prophecy manifesting right now. But watch out, because there's some dirty Moors in this thing right here.
Mm-hmm.
There's some dirty Moors in this.
Oh, yeah.
And as soon as we give you this charter, you watch what's going to happen. You watch when you start saying that your teacher is me, and your teacher is Taj Tariq Bey, and your teacher is Razmaraya Bey, and Nature Grand Sheik Bey, and all that stuff. Wait till you start talking about those people. And without question, as soon as we start talking about those people, when they bring it up, but they would call me all the time. I don't know how these people get my number or whatever. They'll call me all the time. You're the Grand Sheik for Toronto? Yeah, I'm the Grand Sheik. So who you learning from? How do you get a Taj Street? Oh, nah, you don't want to listen to them. And you don't want to listen to them. Oh, they get people locked up. Y'all Moors are in prison or whatever. They were talking crazy about the master teachers. Crazy. Right? When we were trying to do lectures out here. And we're calling all these temples and nobody would answer. And only Alim Bey answered. Only Alim Bey answered. We had all the DVDs of all these people's classes and all that stuff. Actually, Taj and them answered, but they couldn't get across the border, right? But Liam was able to get across the border. I said, yeah, I'll come there and do some lectures. There ain't nothing. Sure, gladly help y'all out. Cause I already know what's up. Moors already called me and told me about you, Moors, and yeah, we'll be game to assist you. Whatever you need, you just say the word. Right? And Moors who are here, they already know the type of rapport that we have with Brother Aleem and Sister Kadira when they come here. Right? You know, and they took it as again this thing that this is some prophetic thing that you know there's a court case with Henry Turner versus the United States and them winning their claim of Washita property and Washita property going up to Canada. And then there's Moors there that want to know about this information. Oh, this stuff must be real. You know what I mean? This stuff has to be real. Right? So when those Moors were saying, you know, convention, come on to the convention, and I'm saying, well, fly me out if you're really supreme grand whatever, then you're supposed to have the manufacturing companies and you're supposed to have the whatever. It's not supposed to be no question. You're supposed to have grand treasury that you can go out and take a little 200 and fly the Grand Sheik in. I mean, I'm the only one that has to cross a border. Nobody else have to go through no issues like that if they're going to convention. All of them are in that jurisdiction of the United States. They don't have no issues. They just jump in the car and they just go there.
So how do we get there?
They're where as far as what?
Doing that.
Doing what?
Jumping in the car, just going there.
No, they don't have borders to cross. That's why they could do that. And then how we get to that position is dealing with those people who are in control of those so-called borders. Whether we deal with it as a body of Moors sending something to them, and everybody signing on to it, whether we all go there as a body of Moors and everybody cross at the same time, and tell everybody, can't tell everybody no. So they could try. You know what I mean? But
to the Constitution also, border service agents.
well, again, remember the issue is Canada Border Services. That's the issue. The issue is really them. So Moors, for example, Moors go wherever, as far as on that side of the border, south side of the border, they go wherever and back and forth with nationality card, and they don't have no issue. Because all you need to do is show 2 pieces of ID. They got 2 pieces, nationality card, right to travel. You got supporting document, mail from a governmental office or whatever, which is why these Moors would always say the thing of put people on notice or write writs so that you can get something back with your free national name on it from a governmental office. So now you have proof that they know who you are as a Moor. Because if the mail says Cujoel on it, it's probably who they sent it to. And I got 5 of those, you gotta tell me that the government or whatever doesn't recognize that who I am or whatever. Right? Exactly. Right? You know what I mean? So because you keep all those as evidence. And these people are playing around. They know what's up. They're gonna send it in the mail, you know what I mean? So so the issue with Canada Border Services is that they'll let you leave, but when you come back, you have to deal with them again when you come back.
That's what I mean.
And then that's when they're gonna be, well, you know, what you got or whatever. Well, we don't know. And how do you?
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
They told me. They said that they only have jurisdiction on the way back in.
Yeah,
Because I was like, I went here, no problems. Oh, we only have a jurisdiction when we come back.
yeah,
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
all right. But I still don't get it. What's that jurisdiction? That's Colony of Canada?
Colony of Canada, the corporation. Because
You
remember,
came
like,
back to America. You didn't come back to. You're just assuming that you came back to the colony.
well, because they have it set up where you have, like, if there was Canada Border Services, and then an empty spot right here. And in order to go back, you can either go through that spot or you go through them. Majority of people are going to go through the guys because they got the uniform and whatever. But certain people, they're just going to go through the little thing and get back on the side, and they're not going to have any issues because they didn't go through the.
There is that spot. It's to the far right and says special services or whatever. Yo, you just walk past all those robot camera things. Put up, hi, how you doing? It's like, there you go. Oh, nothing to the quick. Go ahead.
They always have a side door.
Yeah. So there's some.
And
Yeah.
the far right.
So there's some type of notice or whatever, whether it's embassy letter, so something. There's something to deal with it like that. But that's not, that's not open information.
No.
That you're gonna find, somebody's gonna put you on to that. Oh yeah, you know what you gotta do in order to whatever. You just write a letter to the guy of the whatever, and then you take your letter, and then they'll send you to that side, and then you go through that side. Right?
You start on to that with the whole, remember Canada's secret visa program I have too, right?
Oh, yeah, I didn't get it on that.
Yeah.
They're very tight-lipped about it, right? Global News wants information, you can't get information on it, right?
That's
But
for the
there's that,
snitches or whatever. What that
right,
secret
remember, they have the
information?
secret visa program
Right.
for so-called terrorists,
Right.
that have committed organized criminal activity. Right?
Basically, they gotta give up
But
information about
it's
where
in
they're
Canada's best national interest to grant them
from. Correct.
national
That's your
interest,
secret or whatever.
keyword national interest, so knowing that they know something on the other end, you have to know that loophole, right? Because not anybody knows about these little side doors, like you're saying, little side
Well,
doors.
they come, not snitchers, but they gotta give up, like, normal protest, they're like terrorists, not coming in. And they're like, well, we know this, that might be useful to you guys.
Mhm.
All right, come on in.
Yeah.
That's how that one works. That's why people are like, yo, these are like, the good guys can't come in, but you guys are letting in these guys.
Yeah.
That failed the process, but you have a back door for people that have information that's useful to you guys, and your ways of doing things. You know what I mean? That's me. And then you see people that they deny these truths. Yo, it's crazy.
It's long.
Right? Guys from America can't even come up to Northern America, but you're importing people from all over
wherever.
whatever
Nationality,
benefits you.
nationality is the word of the day, right? And you know your
Well, I
nationality.
gotta know too, that's true. If you think you're something else, then that's true.
Right. So again, it's what those are some of the things that for 2020 that we could do it. That if we have all this documentation from the 20s that this institution is supposed to be able to confer citizenship, and there were people who were coming to this to gain their citizenship, and then he was given nationality cards out and stuff like that, then who are they to deny anything? We should just be, let, all right, same as the thing, you know what I mean? Oh, okay, you don't have any valuable information for us or whatever, but you're from this side, so sure, you know what I mean? Right? We know you're not part of the corps and all that, you know what I mean? And,
Or you're just passing through.
yeah, or you're just passing through, or for Moors that south. Oh, you're going to Moorish Science Temple. Oh yeah, sure, no problem. Like,
You have to come this
oh,
way.
yeah, you got to go this way. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure, show your ID and go right ahead. You know what I mean? It should be like that, you know. But it's going to take collective effort to get to those levels of the activity. You know what I mean? Because even when we look at, again, with regard to the convention, everybody was down with the program, or they wouldn't have been jumping on boxcar or whatever like that, going to Chicago for the convention to go give their report. Obviously, they were down with the program, right? Prophet Noble Drew Ali stated that it must be also kept in mind that no great movement can take definite shape in 2 or 3 years as to be error-proof. Prophet Noble Drew Ali further stated, however, through accumulating experience, each annual convention ought to bear witness to a more perfect and wider functioning organization representing the organized experience of men and women members throughout the country and possibly in time the world over. And continuing, Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, constructive criticism from sympathetic friends in and outside of our ranks is welcome. However, through accumulating experience, each annual convention ought to bear witness a more perfect and wider functioning organization representing the organized experience of men and women members throughout the country and possibly in time the world over. And so this was something that was moving in the direction of not just being limited to the Asiatic states of North America. Because again, Chinese, Turks, Japanese, all these different nations were part of the Moorish Science Temple of America during Noble Drew Ali's time. Why would they be part of this? Like, why would they be Japanese and come to America and be a member of the Moorish Science Temple? What does this have to offer them that they're going to be part of this? They already got their nationality and their culture and all that stuff. They don't need this. You know what I mean? The annual convention of the Moorish Science Temple of America opened October 14th at Unity Hall, 3140 Indiana Avenue. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, founder and head of the body, will preside over the sessions, which close Saturday evening. More than 1,000 delegates from the 15 temples in America were reported present during the meetings. So there's some numbers. Right, so of the 15 temples, right? So temple in 15 different states, you're talking about 1,000 delegates altogether. That's just the delegates only. Now, how many members were in each of those 15 temples? And they're saying Noble Drew Ali's temple had 3,000 members or something. And his was the grand major temple. Right. Following the registrations at headquarters, Monday reports were read from 2 grand governors, T. Crumbly Bay, Pittsburgh, and Lomax Bay of Detroit. Tuesday evening, the welcome address was delivered by Alderman Lewis B. Anderson. So you can look him up, because he wasn't a nobody. Lewis B. Anderson. Other speakers were Oscar DePriest, 3rd Ward Committeeman. That was before he won his term in office. Right, so you look up Oscar DePriest. Dr. Charles V. Roman of the Meharry Medical College from Nashville, Tennessee. So we actually, so again, he asked the question, why is some medical college, whoever, from Tennessee at the Moorish Science Temple of America Convention in Chicago? Why is he there? What type of connection do they have to know the Juali? Tennessee attorney George W. Blackwell who was George W. Blackwell was also what do you call it? A Tuskegee graduate. Right. Now, and again, what do these people's connection have with Noble Drew Ali? Like he were they that big or was he that big? Aaron Payne was also delivered an address. And Aaron Payne came to be one of the most prominent attorneys in the 1900s, in the 1920s in Chicago. Richard Ross was master of ceremonies, and Claude D. Green, managing editor of the Moorish Guide, is chairman of the arrangement committee, which has worked hard to get everything in splendid order for the reception of the visitors. Wednesday, a parade was held. Right, so again, the Moorish Science Temple of America parade. And why would they do that? If we think about parade when they shut down the street here or whatever like that, people can't even get anywhere that they want to go. Right? Think about that in the 1920s, during time of slavery when nigger are not supposed to have nothing. And they're shutting down the street for these people to have parade. The 1920s. The Moorish Science Temple was founded by Prophet Noble Drew Ali in Newark, New Jersey in 1912. The tenets of the belief of his followers are that their forefathers were Asiatics brought to America along with other persons of dark skin. They bar the name Negro, African, or any allusion to color. They follow the teachings of their Quran and move toward free thinking as a powerful step toward the solution of racial problems. They teach strict cooperation and reciprocity towards each other. The Chicago Temple was organized in 1925 and has a membership of more than 3,000. The many-hued turbans of the women and children and the red fez and sashes worn by the men attract much attention. Saturday, a public recognition will be given in honor of the Prophet and his visitors. So again, if you just go, I think it might still be available. They had a virtual, they had like a virtual library in the main library in Chicago, where they have all the what do you call it? Microfilm of the articles and stuff like that, that different papers carried, covering, the parade, the convention, Noble Drew Ali's funeral. There was something else that was in there. The parade, the convention, Noble Drew Ali's funeral, and Noble Drew Ali visiting all the different temples, right? Because that was news in that time when there was word that Noble Drew Ali was going around to go visit temples. It was in the paper that he was doing that, right? Oh yeah, you got Enterprise there.
Enterprise. It's a project we're undertaking. Size more versus all. It's in workmen's compensation law. Hazardous undertaking or project. It's Enterprise.
So the Moorish movement itself was a supreme undertaking. Just that. Now, what about all the stuff that we don't know about? But we know that they had Moorish community centers. We know that they had Moorish businesses. We know that they had, Moorish manufacturing company. Now we're making Noble Drew Ali's stuff in the manufacturing company. If they were doing all that back then, and then we're looking around today, and then we're getting challenged by whoever out there. What did the Moors do? Where's the Moors this and where's the Moors that? Right? We know that there were things. We know that there were things that were already built. Moorish delegates and visitors were served wholesome meals in Unity Hall grill rooms by the members of the Chicago Temple. Sister Pearl Drew Ali, the distinguished wife of the Prophet, wore the costume of a native Moroccan princess. Other very beautiful Moroccan costumes were worn by Sister Lomax Bey, wife of the Grand Governor of Detroit, Sister Whitehead L. of Chicago, Sister Halsop Bey of Chicago, Sister Cliff Bey of Indianapolis, Sister Watts Bey of Chicago, and others. Prophet Noble Drew Ali wore a native Moroccan princess costume. Grand Governor Lomax Bey and Grand Governor Crumbly Bey wore native Moroccan sheep costumes. Right? Now, if Pearl Ali and Noble Drew Ali are going to be dressed as Moroccan prince and princess, and then all the Moors are going to be dressed as Moroccan whatever, what does this look like to everybody else looking at this going on? How are they perceiving this? That these individuals, they look like niggers or whatever. Why are they dressing up like they're royalty? Right? Right? All of a sudden they're Grand Poobah just like that? And nobody's telling them no, they can't. Nobody's running down on them. Like these people talk, hey, if I see a Moor, I'm gonna slap his feather off and all that stuff. Ain't nobody trying that stuff with Moors. Because they already know what's up. Because of certain incidents in some of the branch temples previous to the convention, far-reaching changes for betterment of the administrative affairs of the organization will be announced at the convention by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and enforced by the Supreme Grand Council in future to the laws. It was reported that the Prophet, the Supreme Executive Authority, will appoint a Supreme Grand Council of which he will be the Supreme Grand Chairman. The Supreme Grand Council will have power and duty to control and supervise all the affairs and properties of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and they will be the sole judge of what constitutes conduct injurious to the order, peace, interest, or welfare of the organization, or at variance with its constitution and bylaws, also the rules and regulations made by the Prophet, and shall be sole judge of the sufficiency of the evidence by which such conduct is shown. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is being congratulated by Chicagoans on the success of the Moors' first annual convention and for his splendid work to promoting the cause of humanity. Beginning October 15th and continuing through the entire week, the Moorish Science Temple of America, of which Mr. Drew Ali is the founder and president, will hold his first general conference at Unity Hall, 3140 Indiana Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. President Ali began definite plans to this end upon his recent return from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, where he spent several days lecturing at the local Moorish temple. Now, if he said nationality is the order of the day, and he's saying divine constitution and bylaws, and he's saying carry out my law, and he's saying all this stuff, and then they say President Ali, what do you think this is? If he's President Ali, this is just some religious corporation only? And remember, it was known that he was that. This wasn't just stuff, they're just some people just made up. Somebody just put that in an article. Oh yeah, President Ali. They knew exactly where he was going with the activity that he was doing. Right? It was probably about to happen. It was probably about to happen. This organization is playing a useful and definite part in advancing the sacred obligations of American citizenship, right? And also do your research on that, the sacred obligations of citizenship, just generally, right? What are these sacred obligations of citizenship? What does it mean to be a citizen of a country? What does it mean to be a national of a nation? And how does that stuff apply to us, being that we're making those claims, right? In this day and time. Indications are that this convention will be one of the most interesting ever held in the city. It will be featured by delegates attending in pilgrimages from 15 different states where local temples have been established. Right, so now again, you know, why are they saying these delegates are taking a pilgrimage? Right? And why Chicago called Mecca? And when Noble Drew Ali said that this was a religious whatever, how big was this religious thing that he was talking about? Like if we take the government stuff, constitutional bylaws, and put that over there. And now we're looking at this from the religious perspective. They're saying that the delegates from the different jurisdictions, they're not just coming to convention, they're taking a pilgrimage. Right? And if you talk to anybody who's Muslim, Jewish, or whatever like that, and they say they go on pilgrimage and they go to Israel or they go to wherever they go to, look how serious they take that.
That's not nothing to do with dogma.
Say that again?
Has nothing to do with dogma.
Nothing to do with dogma at all, whatsoever. Yep. There will be an interesting parade in which men and women members will wear regalia similar to that worn in Eastern countries. A camel will be used. During the sessions, specific reports, right? And again, where do all you get a camel? They got a convention going on, and then there's going to be a camel there. And then we're over here in America. Where do you get a camel from? Who loaned him a camel? How much of a position is he in that he can get somebody to give him a camel for the convention? Or somebody say, oh, you have a convention here, you're going to board this camel. Let the children ride. Bouncy castle is a camel. Right? What is it? What type of power did he have? During the session, specific reports of the general work and civic accomplishments of local accomplishments will be made. Reports also of the business enterprises, is that word again, and business enterprises that have been established in connection with these temples. Right now, remember, these are the business enterprises, some of the business enterprises. 2 grocery stores, market stores, a laundry, moving and express business, and a grocery in Chicago. These examples of collective effort show that the members of the Moorish Science Temple and their leaders have a sound economic program and are blazing the trail and marking the pathway over which our posterity may travel unhampered and unafraid. It must be kept in mind that no great movement can take definite shape in 2 or 3 years, as to be error-proof, said President Ali. Moors celebrate birthday of founder. On the evening of January 8th, members of the Moorish Science Temple of America will celebrate Prophet Noble Drew Ali's birthday with a grand Moorish costume ball in the main auditorium of Unity Hall, 3140 Indiana Avenue. The occasion will also be celebrated by all subordinate temples in other sections of the United States. The occasion will be the first of its kind in America, in that all members participating will wear native Moroccan costumes. A number of prominent men, both in the business and public life of Chicago, will join the members in honoring the Moorish leader's birthday. Moorish leader attends inauguration of the governor. The Moorish Science Temple of America was represented at the inauguration of Governor Lewis L. Emerson in Springfield, Illinois, Monday, January 14th, by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. It was a busy day for the distinguished Moorish leader in Springfield, beginning with breakfast aboard one of the special trains of the Illinois Central Railroad, attending the inaugural ceremonies of the State Arsenal building, and ending with interviews with many distinguished citizens from Chicago, who greeted him on every hand. The prophet expressed himself as being highly pleased with the trip, and many courtesies extended to him by the military and state officials. So speaking about military and state officials, it's said that at the convention, when the boat pulled up to the dock, C. Kirkman Bay, who was the interpreter, because he spoke all these different languages or whatever, he had said something to, he had said something in Spanish to the guys on the dock. And then everybody stopped what they were doing and stood at attention when Noble Drew Ali came off the ship, when they went to the convention. Right now, you know, that's what was said. But if they got a news article talking about him being invited to the inauguration of the governor, and then him going to the inauguration of the governor, and him doing interviews and all this stuff, how come we don't have any stuff with Noble Drew Ali recording? Because obviously he did interviews with somebody. How come we got stuff with Garvey, and we got stuff with W. Du Bois, and we got stuff with Haile Selassie, and we got video of Haile Selassie going to UN, and we got video of all this other stuff. And then it comes to Noble Drew Ali, just like 6th Pan American Conference, and there's nothing.
Yeah, and it was so close to Jamaica, man. Man, I could see my cross.
Nothing.
Yeah, I could see my
Only New York.
So that's what I'm excited with. See the lights over there. It's like what's going on? You see the lights over there.
The Moorish Science Temple of America. The Moorish Science Temple of America was founded by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Aside from the fact that it is a legally organized religious corporation, it is building on human needs. To this desirable end, in time, legitimate means will be found to dispense charity and provide for the mutual assistance of its members in times of distress, to aid in the improvement of health, and to encourage the ownership of better homes, to find employment for our members, to teach those fundamental principles which are desired for our civilization, such as obedience to law, respect and loyalty to government, tolerance and unity. It is most earnestly hoped that the Moorish Science Temple of America will not in any way be confused with any Back to Africa movement. Such is not important insofar as American citizens of our group colonizing Africa are concerned. We of the Moorish Science Temple of America, like countless other American citizens, know that we must live together here in America in harmony, friendship, and goodwill, whatever our race and creed may be. It is only from a purely religious standpoint, it seems at this time, that we differ from a large number of our fellow Americans. We believe in and foster the Muslim religion. We believe in the principles of its teachings insofar they can be adopted to American life. We feel that the Christian religion is all right for those who prefer it. In America, religious freedom is guaranteed to all under the Constitution. We are interested in freeing ourselves and our children from the greatest plight, economic slavery. We believe this can be done by encouraging, patronizing, and establishing our own business enterprises and cultivating our own acres of land. We welcome into our folds men and women of our group of all sections, all trades, occupations, and professions of sound mind and good character. We are friends and servants of humanity. We are dedicated to the purpose of elevating the moral, social, and economic status of our people. We have set about to do this through a wide, comprehensive program embodying the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. History defined. History may be defined in a general way as the record of the life of mankind. It is the rise and progress of those famous people whose doings constitute the history of civilization. In this, its proper and highest science, history presupposes the nations of the world advance beyond natural or primitive state, and to those belong our great leader, Muhammad, director of our Father God Allah. Respecting mankind outside of nations, there is much interesting and valuable knowledge supplied by various sciences. By the aid of these sciences, much is now known regarding mankind's customs, manners, languages, arts, and religions, which bring us back to our Father Allah and the Muslim religion. Demanding hours. The idea inculcated in the progress of the Moorish Science Temple of America is to have everything that belongs to us as a nation that has become part of another nation, just the same as all other European groups are doing. We must have the history of our forefathers taught to our children. We have ceased to calculate our history from the landing of the first 20 or the close of the Civil War. While all records of the tombs in the whole world are proclaiming our glory to the nations, we have come now demanding that we be given credit for the great work done in the past by our ancestors. We are not asking others to give these records to the world for us, but we demand that such records be broadcasted to the four winds by us and for us. A pride that goes with the knowledge of great deeds will serve to cause our posterity to take heart and look into the vast future with hope eternal. Such can never be done, except they be taught who they are and where they are from. Yes, we are demanding that these things be done, and we know that it will require from some time before we have created that consciousness in others of our group to assert themselves likewise. But the day is coming when such will be the case. Nicknamed. When the forefathers of the Moorish Americans were first brought to this nation, they had a nationality and a name. But in order to separate them from the achievements of their fathers, a name was given to them which had no connection whatever with the founders of civilization. They were nicknamed Negroes. Today, in this nation, there is no such thing as Negroes in the sense that they are called. Just why so many of the intelligent Americans will continue to cling to this nickname is hard to understand. If you look in some dictionaries, you will see that the word Negro means a sly person, a coon. If this is not an insult to the illustrious history of a nation, there can never be one given. Just as they have saddled on the Moorish Americans the name Negro, they have also given him a religion that was made to enslave him and stop his progress. It is the duty of every man who lives to redeem the name of his forefathers to not be herded into a mass of weaklings. Stop referring to yourself as Negro, colored, and black, for you are neither. If you are men, American citizens, speak up for yourself, or you will never be done, or it will never be done. As long as you wear the clothes of another, or live in the house of another, or depend on another in any manner, you are truly a slave to them. If you would be free, indeed you must seek the truth. You must know the truth of your nationality and the name of your people. You must not be a coward and deny yourself the personal rights that belong to every man. And then we'll close out with dedication to the sons of man. A maxim, the land of our fathers, the land where the gods love to dwell, the birthplace of the ancient Egypt land, where civilization first saw the light of day. Now, since man has left his first religion, he has been suffering from a complex disease, which in some way takes hold of his passions and desires. The misdirection of his brain causes him to become a living monster. He is a slave to his lower self. No scientists nor doctors have been able to find anything to effect a cure until the coming of Prophet Noble Ali, who comes from the east bringing the light of the new day. The Moorish divine movement built upon love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, the salvation for the nation. In the deliberation of nations, no consideration is given to a people who are not of a nation. In 1774, the Europeans of this country took the birthrights away from a people whom they forced under bondage. They were not slaves. They were bound free men. The subsequent generation who followed them in this bondage were slaves because their minds had been subjugated to a European psychology. They were branded with the name Negro and were separated from the illustrious history of their forefathers, who were the founders of the first civilization. Islam. Any questions or comments? Actually, if we get some comments on the stuff that we read, and you know, what you get from what was read relative to Noble Ali and his mission.
I think the time is very significant because we're talking about the 20s and 30s, you know? And if you ever watch any old movies from around that time, 20s, 30s, you got these Europeans, and all of their houses are filled with Moorish artwork, you know, statuary, paintings and whatnot. So it is important to note it because at that time, this is kind of, you know, this is the kind of thing that the prophet was trying to get us to grab hold of, you know what I mean? But as time goes on, and you see the movies from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and so on, you don't see them anymore. You know, this is all part of the sorcery right there. And I was watching this movie the other night called Algiers. No, sorry, the first one was called Algiers, then it was remade called The Casbah. So this is a place in Algiers where apparently all the underdogs of society end up, right? I won't go into the plot or anything like that, but they had a cafe or a bar, or whatever you want to call it, nightclub type of thing. And this is a movie again from the 40s, but it's set probably in maybe in the 30s or 40s. But they had some Moorish dancers, and they all looked exactly like us. But what was kind of interesting as well was that they were Americans. And this movie is set in Algiers, you know. So that should, you know, it should wake people up to the fact that this is we're universal people. You know, we're not just from Morocco, we're not just from Algiers. And the people here are Moorish Americans because we descended from those, you know. But we see it, and we don't put the pieces together. You know, we don't see the connection a lot of the time. I yield the floor, sorry. If you don't know Turner Classic Movies, it's the older movie channel. If you just start to see it now, but you look in, these are people, European movies. Some of them might have a little money and all that, and they've got Moorish kids, you know, and statues and busts and art and all that all over the houses. Or maybe not all over that, but you'll see it. And, you know, in the old days, I see it, I wouldn't put two and two together, but now I do, you know. What are they doing with that? Why should they have that? I mean, I don't have pictures of European on my wall. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, we know this even from all the coats of arms of Europe. All the European countries had Moorish people on their coats of arms. All these people over here were giving all this to us as well, you know? So it's not rocket science.
And then into the modern time now, how people don't realize that the female son from Mars.
That's right.
We have so-called black people, whatever, still. My son from Mars is something for what's going on.
People will look at that two different ways, right? Some people will look at it and say, you know, in order to get the nation, you gotta subjugate the woman and all that kind of stuff. And other people will look at it and say, the European is not having children anymore, so they're trying to put themselves back in by amalgamating with us now. Once upon a time, it was the Moorish man and the European woman. Now you turn on your TV, and every commercial, there's a European, a Moorish woman and a European man.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Also for genetics.
sorry?
For genetics.
See, well, yes, that's, you see, that's one answer.
For real.
Yeah, well, yeah. Dr. Francis Crack also says the same thing. You know? Well, they're not having babies. The European has stopped having babies virtually. Those are having babies. The Spanish are having, we're having them. Chinese, well, depends on where you are. Same.
Any other comments, questions?
So the convention, it was like, it was ended?
No, they still happen. They're still going. Yeah, they're still going. Some again because of some of them have it in September, some of them have it in October.
I mean, there's no unified sort of
Yeah,
consortium going on in any manner, right?
not to the capacity of 1928, 29.
But that could come back.
Well, yeah, these Moors get their stuff together. It's just them stop playing around like this is a grand whoever's thing. This is the members thing. You know what I mean? And if we went and tallied, from all the members across all the temples, where did they get this information from? More than half of them are going to say they got it from outside the temple. They're just at the temple just to show support because, Juali said be a member of the temple or whatever like that. But the temple's not teaching them what they should know like that. You know what I mean? Temple's just a place where they go for their little religious, kumbaya, and then they go about their business. You know what I'm saying? But again, we're looking at people who, they directly or indirectly, they have taken some type of, or made some type of allegiance with the corporate jurisdictions. Because again, going back to the thing of them jealous of Nobujuali's fame and nobility, not only that they took what he got or whatever, but they're also accepting things from the corporate jurisdictions in order to make themselves be looking like, you know, we got the key to the city from the city of whatever. Well, that's a corpse. Like, what do you mean? Why you import, you know, like key to the city? That's what you're happy about? You know what I'm saying? You know, we go back to, you know, again with what, 80s or whatever, 80s, 90s or whatever, when Taj was in the temple and then went to the mayor to go get buildings or whatever. Mayor, here, the buildings, you know, you guys are Moors, like, what? All right, fine. Then took the stuff to the Grand Sheik. Then Grand Sheik lost all the papers for the buildings. Like, what do you mean you lost the papers for buildings? What do you mean? Like, what do you mean you lost the papers? You know what I mean? So that's where it went to be where it is today. Why it's all messed up, but like you're saying, it could turn around. People just have to want their stuff back.
That's also why I tell them with the perspective that like, as a Moor, it's not your job to police the United States of America. You know, it's your job to be more. You know, United States of America, it's like you own a bicycle and you lease the bicycle to a youth man to go and run Uber Eats. He doesn't own the bicycle, nor is the bicycle really your sole possession. You know what I'm saying? You might own a house, a car, and all type of things. So the bicycle is not really that important. But you get caught up in the mentality that the bicycle is important to us. It's not important to us. As a Moor, if you make it most important, then you're giving somebody else power over you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you're a Moorish American, so in your nation, in your own proper person, is you and Allah. You know, whatever laws are divine constitution, prophet, you know, who's the sultan or the president, all these other things, you know, if you listen to someone in the United States and a Moor in the United States, they're handling certain responsibility that they have to handle because they're under treaty. Not under treaty, but they're party to treaty. You're not party to that treaty in that sense. So, you know, when there's division like that in the nation, to the point where you can't even, you know what I mean? Lucky was recognized as the president back then, and now there's no recognition. You hear stories like what Rashid was just telling. You're not doing us a service outside of the Americas to progress the movement by bringing things relative to the United States into the conversation if you don't really know exactly what you're talking about. The unfortunate thing is that, yeah, a lot of the information is coming from individuals who are located in America, the United States of America. And their audiences are often also in the United States of America. So they have plans and strategies and perspectives for their own section of the movement. So the movement is national divine movement of the world. So that's Japan, that's Brazil, that's Sri Lanka, that's those places are not the United States Constitution will have nothing to do with them getting to the next level. And to move to helping the movement move forward for them and for everybody else. You know, so you have to have that same perspective. Like Like you're in Kenya, or you're in Brazil, or you're not in the United States of America. You know, that's the perspective. That's Canaanland. You know, it's your right to say, I don't need, I don't need that. I don't even need to address that. There are people who are in our nation who have been positioned to address that. But if they want to come funny with it, they have no authority over us. They have no authority over Cujo, over myself, over any of us. And anyway, as soon as any of them says out of the mouth, or even implies that they do, that's an agent, that's a fraud, and that person is a backstabber to the government, to our government. And they're out there.
There was two questions. One was relative to who terminated Noble Drew Ali. Was it the U.S? And other one was relative to us having our own Moorish town or Moorish city or whatever. With regard to the whole concept of a Moorish place where all the Moors are together or whatever, right? If we see this as Morocco, that's that already. If we see North America as Morocco, if we see that, every temple is the state, every body of Moors, wherever they're at, that's their state. That's Moors living together, right? That's Moors being together, communing together, being in the same jurisdiction. To say, go buy land somewhere and then start building there, and then that's how we're gonna have our own stuff, that's probably not gonna manifest like that, right? Because majority of the people who are claiming Moorish nationality, they can't even go to the store without being harassed by these people. So to go somewhere else to say that we're going to govern ourselves there, is counterproductive when there's already stuff built. All we need to do is access what it is that we already have. A lot of the time, like they talk about putting your priorities in order. A lot of the time, our priorities are out of whack. That's why we can't have anything of our own. If we put our priorities in the right direction, we can have our own stuff tomorrow. It's no different than we say when we go to one of these restaurants or whatever, and then you see 20 people in the back, and everybody's complaining, oh, there's minimum wage and there's too much work, and those 20 people could start their own damn restaurant, and they wouldn't have no issues. But where are their priorities at to say, let's do that?
Because, like you said, that's for real. The only thing that doesn't involve them is the finance of the restaurant.
Yeah.
And that's the generating of the food.
Right. The food, everything else. Everything else, yeah.
Even the secretary.
Yeah.
Everything they are doing. So they could do it for themselves.
Yeah.
Without the big chief.
Yeah, without the big chief.
Mm-hmm.
And not to take away from that, but again, if we're doing that idea, that would have had to be something that was already in motion, like how the Mormons, they did that already. Mm-hmm. They've already picked up their stuff and went somewhere and built that 100 years ago. So it's not something they're trying to do right now because, the times of the whatever, so let's do that, and we're under pressure doing that. They did that while everybody was playing, African and slave warrior, and they went and they did their stuff, built their stuff, right? Jews did the same thing, right? While everybody's playing games, they were handling business. They had their priorities straight. They said 500-year plan. We're looking from here 500 years ahead. Forget tomorrow, right? And you know, we're seeing the Punjabs or whatever. They did that with Brampton, right? They did that same idea that we have. Brampton used to be bush. Remember, Ajax, all them places used to be bush. Nothing up there. Now there's stuff there, and people are thinking that that's, you know, that's, oh, we can't go there. That's too close to the whatever. We have to go out there to go build something. We dropped the ball. You know what I mean? We just have to accept it. We dropped the ball, and now put some finance, buy out some of those people who are there, send them back to where they came from, take over their stuff. You know what I mean? And have something. You know, again, it goes with having our priorities in order. Nothing's wrong with having, you know, top of the line shoes, but if you have 80 of them, something's wrong, because you only have 2 feet. You only wear 2 of those at one time. If you can wear shoes on your hands and stuff like that, then okay, you might have 4. You know, and then with regard to Noble Drew Ali transitioning, remember that when they kidnapped him because they were going to charge him for killing Claude Green, they released him, and then he died. So if they released him, if they gave him the permit or whatever it is for him to have parade and do all this type of stuff, and he was in the newspaper, European newspapers included, right? It's hard to think that they were solely responsible for him not being here. It's no different when you think about El Hajj, right? Europeans loved El Hajj. They didn't not like him. They knew what he was about. There was people on his side who didn't like him. Same thing with Noble Drew Ali. There was no Europeans not liking Noble Drew Ali. Even in the literature, it talks about that one European who went to the temple after the convention, or went to the temple after 1929, right? And he asked one of the sheiks or whatever, "Where's that little man?" or whatever like that. You know, he saved me all this money during the stock market crash and all this, and I just want to thank him because he told me to take my money out the bank, and I did it, and all that stuff. The European broke down crying when he heard Noble Drew Ali died. That he didn't get the opportunity to thank this man that helped. Now remember, this was 1929. They lie and say stock market crash in 1933, which is a whole different thing now. Because if it crashed in 1929, the Noble Drew Ali transition in 1929, and Pan American Conference was 1928, then that gives some credence to how come he's not here anymore either. Because something obviously happened at that Pan American Conference for him to not even relish in that in its full capacity. You know?
Yeah, that reached all the way up here, that crash.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
No, it crashed in
the stock market.
But the rapid rippled all the way up here. They had like black and black.
You're talking up here to Jamaica.
No, up here, like Canaanland,
Yeah.
Toronto, whatever, all the way up here.
I'm saying it slows. Here is just across there. But I'm talking like across the water and to Jamaica.
Oh,
It reaches
it
there.
went probably.
No, it reaches there.
Yeah.
My grandmother, they said some things, but I didn't understand. I only know like, I get to understand.
Well, all the way there
They
is
stop putting money in the bank. From whatever happened before, they don't put money in the bank again.
right.
If they sell a cow, they keep it under the mattress, or if it's spending money inside their bosom here. You go to Ghana for money, it's going over here. Over here, you gotta get money.
No bank.
Something back then, that's what was happening.
No bank.
Why they,
Everything is bad.
yeah.
It was written, just Google 1929, the colony, whatever, and it's in there. Yeah, same time frame. Like it's something happened. It's like when they say, oh, 1960 UFOs came. It's like something else happened. Like, something happened. So, yeah, so, I don't know.
No, no detail at the time, but
I don't blame Raj, but something happened.
I remember those things, man. Said it, if I'm been bankrupt, that's why I didn't know. I didn't know what it has to do with no joy and all this.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Somebody brought up again about organic Asiatic organic kitchen, and we always want to go back to Brother Yusuf in Springfield, who he has a garden in his yard, front, side, back, as far as organic. That certain things you're not even go into grocery or whatever to get. You go in the back, go pick, and that's a no going over there, get some land from some whatever to build some whatever. You got land right around your house right now.
But they're trying to let people not even want to utilize that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yesterday I was talking to one guy I know, and he said, you get a call from Jamaica, asking for money for Western Union.
Yeah.
And they're saying if you only know how food expensive down here. He goes, where I am, I can't grow nothing.
Yeah.
Y'all can grow it there.
For real.
They tell me food
Food
expensive.
expensive.
We can't grow it here, but they can grow it. And they're sending for money here to buy food here. That's
Right.
so it's your loss. Yeah, even buy food that's coming from there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they want White Castle and all those stuff. They want Christmas apple and grapes. They want grapes and all this BS. Yeah.
For hours.
Go get some KFC, yo. Yeah, yeah. Trust me. Yeah. Yeah, man, and that's that whole thing with the bailouts and stuff like that, and all these countries selling out, that the people can't even grow their own stuff there. They can't even grow their own stuff. They have to import stuff that they could grow, which is crazy. You know what I mean? It's crazy that you're importing what you could grow. And then, like you said, you're telling people to send some money so we can buy stuff in the store that you could just put it in the ground and you could just grow for free.
Don't even have to water it.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah.
And when you grow, you won't get a seed from it to plant again. You gotta come back.
Yeah.
You won't get a seed from what you grow to plant. You gotta come back to me for more.
Yeah, straight. Yeah. It's almost a no-win. Yeah.
Stuff local beer to see. You don't even put it up, it doesn't grow.
Just yeah.
And then after a while, this suckers grow up from the same
Yeah.
They transplant them,
Right. Even those seeds, not new seeds.
Yeah.
The engineer of new seeds, not to be reproductive.
Yeah.
Doing that. Very long time.
I just have the kind of opportunity to get two apples. I mean, like, I still have to have a long stick. Now, I can just stand up and pick happy.
Yeah. It's the way it is.
What is
The dwarf tree.
Yeah. The same thing. They come to spray weed, marijuana in Jamaica, and they kill all the tall coconut trees.
Yeah, they kill all the
and then they'll bring the shop.
bananas.
Yeah. Purpose. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, they spray, there's a yellow plate used to come out. And when they spray, the catchment with drinking water is full of that shit. Sorry.
Yeah.
Chemical water. You do drinking water, you still have to drink your water. And then all of a sudden, coconut tree and stuff.
Leaf stuff, all of
And so drop down. Then they start, you have to go to the middle start agriculture now to get plants. To get plants.
Monsanto.
And so you plant your coconut tree. We write it out. Yeah. That's scary.
It's worse than scary,
Yes.
because it's worldwide.
Yeah.
And when they got your food, they got you. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things, Nikes and whatnot, they can't do without.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm there on
So over here we got flyers over there, so make sure you pick up some flyers. Saturday is our 10th annual Noble Juali Day celebration. We're also one maybe if not tomorrow, Tuesday. So just keep close to the email. We're gonna be doing just a little temple cleanup between tomorrow and Tuesday, and then we'll be back here on Sunday for 12 after Noble Juali Day on Saturday. Since we'll have everybody in town, there's gonna be people from out of town here. They wanted to come by the temple, and it would be a good session. We did it last year, the Sunday after, and had everybody here. So we'll be doing that on Sunday, regular time. Oh, for Juali Day, it's at 29 St. Denis, which is Don Mills and Eglinton area. You can just pull it up on your Google Maps or whatever, Don Mills, Eglinton, or St. Denis and Don Mills across from the Science Center. And that starts at 12 o'clock. Any other announcements? Oh, and don't forget, it's 29th or whatever, so any dues or donations, you can get those in. Guys ready? Let's go, y'all. How you guys doing? Both of you guys do it. Come on up, Olivia.
Remember the prayer you did last week? Sure, you say.
Right?
Allah Father years, Allah Father universe, Allah truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah protector, Allah my protector, my guide, and my salvation, my night, and my day, to his holy prophet, Noble Juali.
Islam. Thanks, Morris. Islam, Morris. Say Islam to the Morris, bro. Say too early, huh?